I'm just spraying down my dusty mic.
I'm gonna say I heard like scratching noises or something.
It's been a while since we podcasted, so I have to air dust my microphone because that's what happens. It's been sitting in a corner for a while.
Get all the gunk out. Podcasting gunk.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a few weeks since the last episode.
It has been.
A lot has happened. Haven't watched as many movies, but this has been a thing in the works for a while now. Ever since we did Toy Story 1, this has been in the works.
Yeah.
So it's about damn time, America, that we're there.
I think this was like we did Toy Story 1 2 episodes ago, but that seems like
it was a while ago.
2 months ago or something, though. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We were joined by Jake again for this.
Hello.
Who I think Jake was the inspiration to do the Toy Story series.
No way.
Is that right, Luke?
Is it really?
I thought you said that.
Not really. Jake happened to. I was thinking about it, but Jake happened to watch them before I watched them. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to rewatch them, but Jake beat me to it.
God.
It's hard to take full responsibility for the popularity of Toy Story and Pixar in general. I feel like everyone just has to have a dose of Pixar at least once a year. I was feeling it, so glad to be back.
Well, and I especially wanted to rewatch this film, honestly, because
always,
like as we'll get to, this is like probably one of my all-time favorite movies after rewatch. Like something that I definitely left out of my top 10 just out of the idea of it being in a movie from when I was a kid that I watched a lot, so not valuing it as much for that, but it definitely holds up just as much as an adult, and I have that nostalgia and the grown appreciation for it from just being so much older. So this couldn't be better timing, because I have a lot to say about Toy Story 2 for sure.
Yeah. This is for sure one of my earliest like theater memories, like seeing this in the theater. Yeah.
And here's something about that. And the end credits, when they're doing the outtakes, which I think are some of the greatest outtakes in movies. Yeah. It ends with Barbie, like, announcing to the audience, like, all right, is everyone gone now? Bye-bye now. Watch your kid to throw out your candy. Like, this was the time where this movie was made where going to the theater was the mainstream thing to do. Like, when you're making a movie, it's meant to be seen in the theater. Even a movie about like, a movie about toys, like a child's movie, it's a mainstream big screen experience that, everyone shared.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. What's really ironic about that is that Toy Story 2 was so over budgeted and it took so long to make that it was supposed to be direct to video, which is just like in the context of where Pixar is now, it's like that's insane because it made a shit ton of money. And the third one is like one of the highest grossing movies ever for good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Toy Story clout finally caught up to it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, it was like a big risk movie. It was the first one was like a kind of a Hail Mary pass, and the second one they're like really like a continuation of this shit, but just I think still the best top 5 Pixar movies they've ever produced.
They took like the basics of like Toy Story and just took it to another level in this, and it's just so much deeper and I almost it almost like hit me more as an adult seeing it.
Yeah.
It's really, we talked about this about the first one too, but these are really like adult like stories.
Yes.
But they just happen to be with toys.
Yeah. And we also talked about how the first one, like how great the pacing is. And I don't know if I actually mentioned this about the first one, but the characters in the first one feel very organic and like lived in, but because it's done that well in the first one, it allows the second one to feel like you've known everyone for, forever. Like, you've never not known who these people are, especially in the beginning, just as each character drops all their lines and and jokes and has all their quotes. Like for instance, it's just so hilarious and organic when Buzz says "hot schmoes," because we all know, like, from spending time with him in the first movie, that isn't really fully know all of his reality yet.
S'mores Buzz.
Yeah, they're called s'mores Buzz.
That was something as a kid, like just his inability to be like the rest of the toys. That was something that like you could easily grasp onto. It was like all the bits where he's trying to learn how to be a toy. It's like so clean and so perfectly done. And like I just, like you mentioned, I just rewatched the whole franchise. And weirdly, like if you see Buzz's growth as a character, like through 2, 3, and 4, like he doesn't grow anymore, but each movie has like a really funny bit and gimmick to kind of utilize Buzz with,
calling back to the first in a way.
Like they're all like playing off his ignorance as a toy. Like even in the 4th one, he's still like figuring out like, how do I function as a Space Ranger toy in this world? And it's inspiring at the same time, but it's also super goofy. And I think they toe the line just so well, especially in the 2nd one. That's where it's done the best, where he's kind of like leading the gang, like Rex and all of them, and he's trying to like stay true to his roots, but also trying to come to grips with the reality. So
he's like come to terms with the fact that he's a toy, but he's still like he's like an action movie star still.
Like, like Buzz has some moves in this movie. Like the way he jumps onto the gutter and slides down the house after Woody when Al takes him that's some, as a kid I was like, cool. I should try to do that. You know what I mean? Cool. Like that, it inspired me in that way. And when he chases them out of Al's toy barn and like flies on that,
I love that.
That glider that's like toy glider that's like hanging in the air. It provides just for great like action in this movie, and just the way the film is incredibly cut together. I get so much joy off of watching Buzz jump around and the world and run around the the luggage conveyor belt by the airport.
That's so well staged.
When they track behind Buzz and he has in that in the luggage final scene, and he has that tag on his back, and it's like dun 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 dun.
It's heart pounding, dude.
That gets me some intense. Killer goosebumps for sure. Well, we jump into the Buzz video game. Eventually find out that Rex is playing, and so today is May the 4th. It's the 4th, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, everybody. It's May the 4th. And I just found there were a couple Star Warsy moments in Toy Story 2. One being an obvious moment with Zurg later, and the other this beginning part, like for instance the way the logos jump at you in this video game. Even though you're not in space the rest of the movie, it really it's just like an epic way to begin the film, as then we watch Buzz, fly down to Zurg's lair planet. I don't know, which goes back to just the idea of seeing Buzz as this, like, always as this hero, even though he's a toy, you know what I mean? Because, like, while there's action scenes in the real world with Buzz later, now we are in, like, the fantasy toy, famous Buzz version. Almost, you could almost say the fake version of Buzz in this video game world that Rex is probably, Mitch Prestoning.
It's like an expansive universe already of the Toy Story franchise. Like, I think they built a whole TV show off of that, kind of like that intro, like that style of intro. Like, they built a whole
I remember when
it as kids.
I wanted nothing but that when I was a kid. I was like, all right, let's just stay here in Buzz's, missions.
It's so well done.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had a Buzz video game as a kid. It inspired the way I would play with my toys and Buzz. I had a Buzz toy. It inspired the way I played with him. I'm pretty sure I ended up getting the Zurg toy with where he had the ion blaster.
We had the video game for Game Boy that was a lot like that intro.
Just off of like this one moment,
Yeah, just like a teaser, really, like a short film before the actual movie.
And it sets up then that great recurring bit throughout the whole thing, pretty much, of Rex trying to figure out how to defeat Zurg, and then Zurg ultimately, becoming an actual villain towards the end. Yeah,
like later when Zurg comes up on the elevator, the big reveal, and the belt Buzz, who's still thinks he's a toy, starts to face him off. But Rex is kind of looking at Zurg behind him over the shoulder, like through a lens, like he's still in the video game, and he's like, "Watch out! He's got an ion blaster!" It's so great.
Yeah, a lot of great moments with Rex in this one too.
Oh yeah, for sure, and just in general, as the ensemble, there's so many moments where I just laughed my ass off. Like, I think this movie's hilarious. Yeah, in like a very smart way.
I love the Mr. Potato Head and his new spouse, voiced by George Costanza's mother.
Yeah,
she's such a great voice performance too. There's so many great voice performances in these movies, and like their dynamic, and sort of him in the first movie, he's sort of like the alpha toy next to Woody. In this, he's like, oh, he has a wife, and
now he has like a weakness. It shows him immediately like find something for her,
Yeah, it's such
he's
smart.
Like, what he says, did you find my hat or something? It's like, no, the missus, I don't know, something. He like under the bed.
Oh,
yeah.
And then she's like helping him like pack too.
Yeah, he's got your angry eyes.
The blooper for that too is hysterical. It's like some cheese puffs.
A key, not sure what it's for, but you never know. Yeah. Yeah, and then once we find out it's a video game they're playing, then I guess they're setting up that Andy's gone. He's not really
going away to cowboy camp. And Woody's going. He's got to find his hat.
Cowboy camp.
Classic cowboy camp.
Yeah, and then
we all went to cowboy camp. Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's a point where Andy realizes, like, there's a lot of like, oh, the gang's back, and there's a bunch of jokes, blah blah blah, and then Andy realizes he has like, 5 minutes, and he sets up like a whole playtime situation with like ranks of army men and stuff.
The most elaborate setup anyone's ever done in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
like an entire town he ensembles together.
Yeah, and that like dolly like pan across this toy setup, like that image like stuck in my head as a kid, where I would it inspired later play sessions with my toys. I'm like, I gotta do it the way Andy does it, like Andy does it right.
Andy's the GOAT of toy playing.
He's like an auteur of playing with toys.
He's the auteur of Toy Story. Like,
yeah, some millennials say it's the girl in the third one, but I say it's Andy.
No. She's got nothing on Andy.
What's her name in the third movie? Bonnie, see?
Bonnie.
I don't know who Bonnie is.
Yeah.
Wow.
You heard it here. Yeah.
You heard it there.
You heard it here first. Someone's got to say it.
Tweet it, Bonnie.
We're all thinking it, yeah.
Did you guys notice you guys recently watched 1, just how much better the animation is from the jump from 1 to 2?
Yeah,
it is absolutely insane how much. Because 1 has like some moments don't hold up as well. Like they're still passable, but 2 is like, I think, technically flawless on an animation standpoint.
Yeah, and plus the amount of different locations.
Yeah,
and
the budget's
variety. Yeah, it's you go to an urban district, you go into an airport, Al's like creepy apartment,
the toy barn, the airport thing. Yeah, there's just staggering. The first one was like 3 locations. It was like that courtyard, like the 2 houses, Pizza Planet, and like the road at the end.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And even we'll get to this, but like the scene where the old guy's repairing Woody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That looks amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, because that scene is all about attention to detail, and so it has to like the animation needs to, in order for that to come out, especially the way it does, like because that scene sticks in everyone's mind. It has to be just keen detail, like in order to just feel that anxiety when he's sewing his arm back, you know.
He's like a little shaky. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like an all-time like animated moment, and there are I think there's multiple probably in this movie alone, and that's one of them. And this movie's like an hour and 30 minutes in it, but yet it has so much impact and so much comedy and joy all in one.
Yeah.
So anyways, I guess back to the plot. He
Andy
plays with his
him,
toys,
right?
and then he rips. That's when the rip comes, and Woody's on top of the shelf, and it's a big shocker, and it gets us to where the just the conflict in this movie for me is already stronger than the first movie, which I think is a perfect movie. But I just think the internal like conflict for Woody in this movie is so strong, and it's just all starts with him ripping his arm.
Yeah, like that whole notion, like kind of the existential version of what being a toy is, like for a kids movie, that's pretty damn ballsy, and they pull it off almost as well as some of the best like character studies, dare I say, like of all time. And I might just be biased because the movie's so nostalgic, but sort of that journey, the emotional journey he goes on, and we'll talk about the scene with Jesse and how that kind of plays into his decision making. It's like the theme of like abandonment in this movie is so relatable. It's just it's like in your soul as you watch this movie, and it's so deeply effective.
And it perfectly sets up like that existentialism with Wheezy.
Oh
yeah. He's
setting up Woody's arc pretty much throughout.
Wheezy is legit like an old like man with like dying of cancer or something. He's like Junior Soprano in The Sopranos. You know, he's just.
He should have voiced Wheezy. I'm an old toy on the shelf, Junior.
He's and there's that point Wheezy's like, what's the point of prolonging the inevitable? and the poor guy basically has toy cancer because like it basically makes the point like the dust aggravates my condition. You know, like they call it a condition and everything. Yeah.
Smoker's cough. It's fucking nuts.
Like this movie is genuinely like very depressing at points too. It can be equally hilarious and also depressing. This was making me think
it's
about
also
life.
A movie that sells like all these video games. It's super commercial, sells toys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it has all this meaningful, emotional aspects that last forever. But yet it's as huge as like a Star Wars movie coming out.
I think it started the trend of Pixar movies becoming just super existential for kids to sort of ponder like their existence, even though they don't always sort of grab onto that. But like if you see like Up and Soul, the one that recently came out, like they've kind of played off of Toy Story too, not to that level, but like this is the first Pixar movie to really to feel as authentic as it is.
Is Soul an existential movie?
Yeah.
I mean they get it. They like do it even. They're like Soul is like, let's do it as direct as we can.
Yeah, it's not very subtle.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in the way out.
And I think John and an episode we were talking about how Soul was on the nose and that being like a choral of ours, but also liking it.
It is, yeah.
And one of the core reasons why it's a choral, like Soul is a movie that should exist, and I'm so happy it does.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I have this choral is because Pixar used to do it like this in Toy Story 2 and cover topics like this in a much better, stronger way. And then Soul, like just being like, all right, let's go to where all the souls are.
That's a good point. I mean,
yeah,
let's go. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're dead right now. There's your soul. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
Toy Story 2 did it better than all of them to really come.
Yeah,
much.
Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 1 and Finding Nemo and all that. It's just and the Incredibles.
Incredibles is very emotionally like engaging in that way too. It's sort of that 50s picket fence sort of theme that's going on there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree about Soul. It's just like it started a trend maybe for the worse because they're all like, we got to make it so like depressing and sort of hearts crushing like up, you know.
Yeah, it's all got to be like it's all like getting those tearjerker scenes.
Totally.
But nobody, but like as we'll get to later, some you just can't beat how some of these movies do the tearjerker scene in an actual organic way that is not only super accessible to every person. So anyways, Wheezy says we're all just one break away from here to there, and the camera just pans to the yard sale, and Woody's like, yard sale, and of course everyone freaks out immediately, jumps around. They're all confused what's going on. Andy's mom comes up and brings Wheezy down to the yard sale, and Woody, being the guy that he is, goes to save him. And then that's where we meet Al. It's actually the first time we meet Al, played greatly by the king of the 90s, Wayne Knight. Being in this, Jurassic Park, and Seinfeld.
I was thinking about this earlier. When I was a kid, I was just terrified of everything Wayne Knight did. Because in Jurassic Park, he's a scumbum. In this movie, he's a scumbum. And then Seinfeld, he's like, as a kid, you're like, holy shit, this dude is just creepy and weird. So for so long, I was terrified of Wayne Knight. Mostly prompted by this movie. Because he's pretty, I wouldn't say terrifying, but he's sleazy. And you don't like him at all.
Oh yeah, he's not meant to be like a good representation of humanity. That's for sure.
Capitalist pig. Kara. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, and then right away, I mean, he's
the first time we see him was on an ad.
Woody.
Yeah,
you see him on an ad. That's right.
The first time we see him on an ad, and
box.
The pig's like, I know there's something I don't like about that chicken ham. He's like, and then later he's like, I knew there was something I didn't like about that chicken. and his commercials are like, meant to be like satirical, like scum of the earth, like local business commercial sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like a used car salesman.
Right,
exactly.
Toys,
yeah. Something that's for kids, and toys are so romanticized in this movie too. But Al is someone who is the big, as big of a, the big capitalist of toys in this movie, where it's all about so it's through Al we get to see the ugly side of toys.
Toys are like cryptocurrency or something. Just in the world of Toy Story, they're worth so much money, apparently.
Yeah.
Did he say like Woody's worth like 6 figures? He kept. I don't remember what they said exactly, but it said like
some ridiculous.
Said like, let's add another 0 to the equation. And I think it was like like 200 grand or something crazy. I don't blame him for wanting to sell Woody at that point. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. And right away, you see his sleaziness by not only just trying to like convince Andy's mom to just let him have it, but then just tossing the rolling the skateboard over.
Yep. Yeah.
Straight up stealing him. There's
no
move as a kid.
Yeah. This move as a kid made me so mad, and it like was what kept me in the rest of the movie. I was like, all right, here we go. Now I'm sticking with this till they save Woody. God damn it.
Take this son of a bitch down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that scene, even now watching, I just watched it today, when Woody is pushing Wheezy up into the dog's collar and he's slipping, and it's so tense. Yeah, It's still some reason I was really, really anxious at that moment. But
yeah.
Like
and
Luke
then
said,
it leads to oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, just like the action sequences are so well staged for like an animated movie. Like it's so fluid and staged well. To like, because they kind of, the first one was like a good benchmark to like, okay, here's how we make everything flow well and seem like a real movie. Like Luke was like talking about like the camera pans, like it feels like it's shot like on location in a weird way.
Exactly, and that also goes well to I'll bring up the outtakes again. It shows that the filmmaker, the creators here have like real. They're thinking about this in a very film sense.
Yeah.
Like the way they talk during the outtakes too. They're making jokes about like being on set.
It's so they're films.
Yeah,
it's a film.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then we get to Al's apartment.
No children allowed.
Oh yeah, it does.
It's
so
creepy, dude.
That's really all. That's really all we need to know. I didn't know what I was gonna say about that, but yeah, that's all you need to know. We see that sign, and but also that, like, as we're going to just talk about this having like photographically, the way the angles are, it feels just so cinematic. Like as we watch Al just like walk from his car into his apartment, you know, and it follows
like a low angle.
Yeah. It's that like just watching him. You're kind of like seeing Woody peek out between the bag, and then Al's like, giant legs, pacing back and forth. That's just and as a kid, his gut. And as a kid, you're just terrified in that moment, and so like just having like images like that really stick in your head. So yeah, and then we cut back to the gang, and they're like holding the big investigation scene. And Rex comes up. It's like, how do you spell FBI or something like that? and Buzz is doing like his own he's trying to like decode the license plate, which as a kid, I was so cool. I was like, what is Buzz doing over there? What is he figuring it out? And it was one of those big mystery moments as a kid where you figure out like that it really spells Al's Toy Bar, and that you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about these movies is just like the creative ways they use the toys.
Yeah,
like Buzz is using that to decode the license plate.
Yeah, it feels like a high-powered computer. Like in that moment, you know.
They use the Etch-a-Sketch then to like
draw him,
do a sketch of what he looks like, and then do like a map when they're trying to find out. Yeah, just the creative ways they actually use the toys for what they're meant for.
Right.
But
use like Mr. Potato's eye and stuff to store, and then they store stuff in his ass. Like that's so funny. Because as a kid, you have your Mr. Potato Head, and you would do the same thing. You just throw a bunch of shit. Like it's like there's like wish fulfillment in this movie as a kid. Like this stuff that, like you said, they do with the toys. Like it's so cool. It's so fun.
Yeah, just so like smartly done to utilize what they have. Yeah.
So then they decide to go after Woody, but I think before that, like Woody meets the Roundup gang in Al's apartment. He gets picked up by Bullseye, and just he starts running him around the room, and we get some great Tom Hanks voice acting as he just yells. He's like, "Stop, I say!"
He's fucking so good in this movie, by the way.
Oh yeah, incredible. Probably maybe my favorite Tom Hanks performance. I don't know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then we meet Joan Cusack, kind of an upside down angle of because she puts her head on the ground. Yeah. It's a great entrance to this character. Oh my god, the energy and Joan Cusack's voice as Jessie is just she belongs as part of the gang. Like she's on the level of Tim Allen and Tom Hanks as their characters.
Right away, like she fits in like immediately. Like she has a place. She has an energy that just fits in so well with the just how these movies function, and that's why she stayed. And just the design of her is like so similar to Woody, but she's so different from Woody, like as a character. It's really well done. It's like they're never like a love interest either throughout the franchise, like in what you'd expect. They're like a brother sister type love throughout, and she's a great character. And of course, Kelsey Grammer, dude, he fucking kills it too as Stinky Pete.
So then she's like freaking out. She's like, "Oh my god, it's really you!" And she's like, "The prospector, he'll wanna meet you." And she's like, "Jesus Christ, the prospector, he'll wanna meet you." Because we later find out that these characters.
She says, "Jesus Christ."
I don't think she says that.
She says like Jiminy Crickets or something. Yeah.
She says some Western thing, something a cowgirl would say. But we later find out that these characters have been in storage forever. So this is like it would explain just why she's so crazy in that scene.
They're disenfranchised toys
and over the top.
Why they're desperate to finally like get Woody. Yeah, because it's like their salvation. Yeah.
And doesn't the prospector say when she introduces him and goes he's like, the prodigal son has returned or something like that.
He's like, Jesus Christ. He's
yeah.
And Woody,
it's like Easter morning. Yeah.
Woody says something like, hey, I'm going to Andy's house or something like that.
And then you have the great moment of Woody discovering who he is in a way.
Yes. That is another moment.
Across
yes.
All the Woody memorabilia.
Yeah. Another, like Jake says, that this movie is very relatable because it's like choosing. It's not just about lasting. It's about fame and feeling valued.
Having worth, yeah.
Having worth when you feel versus like feeling that your time with your child who makes you feel special has an end date. And I think all of this with Woody is his about the show and everything is just like, it's a real big temptation for him. It's really a lot about temptation as he walks around. He's like, is that a yo-yo? Is that my head with a yo-yo on it? He's like, oh, it blows bubbles. Yeah, it blows bubbles. And he's like, what if the guys could see this? And this all just like hits him at once. And then all of a sudden they just flip on the show, and you can just see how mind blown he is through this whole process. And that it is bringing him some sort of joy and kind of filling that hole that he hasn't acknowledged yet about being put on the shelf with Andy.
Yeah. I don't know. Gets into where do I belong type thing. Like he, in a way, is like just finding out that he was adopted or something. Like he has his adopted family, which is
there's a whole other world.
And then he's like, oh, this is like my family in a way. So yeah, that's just getting even deeper and deeper into like the existentialism of this all.
Mm-hmm.
It goes so deep. It's like the dilemma. It's like, do I want to be loyal to my best friend essentially and my family, or do I want to be admired forever in this like Chinese or Japanese museum? It's like that's actually like a really smart dilemma that like makes you think throughout the movie. Like, what would I do if I was Woody, or what if I was faced with a similar situation in my own life?
And jumping ahead, it does seem like the movie really makes it feel like an option of real value and like a real an intelligent other move for him, and then kind of Buzz kind of drops it on his head and just reminds him later that like it's just more meaningful always to like, even though that has an end date, to like just to be with Andy because that's like what his purpose is and stuff like that. So yeah, just that whole journey, character journey with Woody to me is like what makes this movie like a masterpiece and how emotionally potent it is. So anyways, the toys.
We left off. Yes.
The toys are on the street and they are using bushes. Buzz and the Saving Private Woody gang are all out on the street and running between across the sidewalk like past houses with leaves covering them, make so that no one could see them. And it looks like they've been doing this all night. And like through this process, which you can imagine takes a while. And Buzz is like, all right, guys, 2 blocks down, only like 9. What does he say? Like 19 or something like that. 19 more to go.
Yeah, something absurdly long.
And they've clearly been at it all day.
Yeah, takes them a while to cross a block. Yeah,
Potato Head goes like 19 or something like that. Don Rickles.
Pretty funny that toys have fatigue even. Like a plastic toy. They're like, Mr. Potato Head sweating.
Yeah, they have very human issues, yeah.
And so then Buzz gives this speech, which is then, this made me laugh a lot, where the American flag and the patriotic music comes, and Buzz like, we will not stop until he's back in Andy's room.
Yeah, it's like the Uncle Sam speech. It's so funny.
They you could tell that this movie's like aware of just like spoofing things multiple times.
It does,
but it does it in like a smart way. It's not like I just watched like Hobbs and Shaw again, and a joke in that movie is that they say a plot point from Game of Thrones, so they say it's like irrelevant, as that's a relevant thing, so it's a joke. Just because you say something that's culturally relevant doesn't make it a joke. You know what I mean? It has to be like, this movie does it in the framing of like plot and like and story, and it also just does it very this movie's just very, very smarter than Hobbs and Shaw.
So you could tell like the writers and directors, like you said before, with the outtake joke, like with the sticks and all the sort of like the camera moves, like you could tell they're like just big fans of film, like
movies,
the Western element of this movie, the Star Wars, the war. There's a ton of references that are just, like you said, just really subtle. So you can laugh without feeling bad about it. Like,
and I like how in that moment of Buzz's speech, it seems, I could make an argument that it's satirical just by doing that, but I think it definitely becomes satirical when it dissolves into being Al's TV, and he's on the couch asleep during it, like with all these cheese puffs.
The Cheeto sequence, always stuck out as a kid. Really tense. Really striking.
When Woody has to hop around like a million cheese puffs, and the way that just how it's an obstacle on the ground. Exactly.
Yeah, minefield,
And just by stepping on one, like when Bullseye steps on one, it just he's like, shh, be quiet.
And just that image of like his cheesy fingers is always,
it's
since
so
1999 is stuck in my head.
That's like an insanely innovative animation for the time. Even just the Cheeto dust that you know so well from eating Cheetos. It's one of the many brilliant animations.
But we missed this earlier. It's because Woody's arm has fallen off now. So Woody's arm is now off. Al has it in his chest pocket, his shirt pocket, which is why Woody's head needs to get across the Cheetos minefield. And it kind of just falls off because of Al's just being clumsy. He kind of just pulls Woody out of his display case.
He's too excited,
he is. He's like, oh, it's like printing my own money. That's later, but that's kind of, he's always saying something like that. Like,
very manic.
You are gonna make me books. So then someone turns on the TV. Someone turns on the TV, and Woody thinks it's Jesse, and they get in a big fight.
If the boot fits.
If the boot fits.
The boot fits, you must acquit. Yeah.
And then as the prospector falls down in his box, it kind of stops the fight. So they have to because they have to pick him up like he's just this like he's a handicapped old man in this box, And like then he says, "Don't worry, Woody, about the TV. Like tomorrow, the cleaner will come and he'll fix you up." And then Woody's like, "Then I'm out of there and out of here." And
I'm getting it out of here.
Yeah, and then Jesse is still mad about that. Which I think then brings us back to our little gang, led by Buzz, as they are finally reached Al's toy barn. But they gotta the problem is they gotta cross I think I don't know, like a 4 to 6 lane road that's really busy.
It's like Michigan Avenue in Chicago, basically.
Sure, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, and this sequence, I just got such a kick out of this cone scene.
Yeah.
And
yet another creative, innovative way to just how are toys gonna get across the road.
Yeah. And the way human beings how they flee all the cars just spin around the second, no matter what shape the cones are. They're I don't know. And the toys are they don't know this world, but they just know enough that the cones will protect them if they go into the street. But they end up causing this massive mess in the road. As Buster's drop! I said drop!
Yeah, they keep going. Slinky has 2 cones.
Yeah.
Cones.
And he's like,
and
go!
The cars just perfectly miss each cone too.
Yeah.
And then Potato Head Man gets trapped. And
he always barely get. Yeah, you always hold your breath.
No, just like a disaster movie all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then at the end they take all their cones off once they make the other side of the street. A traffic jam is
was easy.
And Buzz is like, all right, guys, we're one step closer to Woody. They just have no idea what how they're affecting the world. It's just hilarious.
Then they go to Al's, right? They go into Al's.
Get into Al's.
We cut between Al's and the cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good. We're getting to the rising action peak point of the movie here.
Cleaner shows up because this is the next day after the whole Cheeto.
Yep.
They finally got there,
and then he has his old little setup, which once again animation makes this setup, the attention to detail of the setup, all his little drawers, all the little things that pop out. It sticks in every child's mind forever, and just how dedicated this guy is to keeping toys, collectible toys, at top-notch potency, which is another level of just a thing for Woody, of just the celebrity, an enticing thing of being able to be cleaned like that and look great and have his arm fixed and not be destroyed by a kid,
Even
so much going on. His boots.
There's so much going on emotionally too, with in that scene, because it's kind of, if you think of it in a meta way, it's they're kind of saying that animation is, because he says you can't rush art, and at the time animated movies are being rushed out because they want to make a bucks. And then that whole sequence is kind of fuck you. We need to take our time, and we're gonna produce something as good as Toy Story 2.
Yeah,
that's kind of what that scene means to me. In addition to all that stuff you said about Woody, it's this polished sequence is kind of representing what the type of treatment he'll get if he's served, There's so much going on. That's probably one of the best scenes in the movie, if not in any Pixar movie. Yeah, I would say.
And it's also about him being treated delicately, a celebrity, and being coddled. Later he says they say he's for display only.
Display only.
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? He's a property now. He's worth something. So it's we're just seeing Woody as a totally different thing than what he's been, as a purely superficial thing, pretty much. And like I said, that sequence is the scene is one of probably the best things Pixar has done, and probably one of the best animation montages there's been.
Yeah, it's beautiful and like off-putting at the same time. Like as a kid, it was kind of like you didn't know what exactly you were watching, but you were intrigued. And now it's just like, damn, like so beautifully animated and so meaningful to everything we've been saying.
And from a score standpoint, like that is one of the best. Is that Randy Newman?
Yeah, I think
he does all of it. Yeah,
all the music.
Yeah, I mean, like that for him is like I'm one of the first. I'm the first to admit that I am so behind on Randy Newman's discography, and I know he has so much just classic stuff that's genius and funny and great that I haven't heard. But for my palette of what I've heard Randy Newman do, like that moment for me is just it's got to be one of my favorites for him, at least from a scoring movie standpoint.
Oh yeah,
so good. Yeah, Randy Newman is just perfectly fitting for this whole series.
Yeah, like he does that, and he does the Woody's Roundup theme probably in this movie too. Like, definitely. Yeah, just the versatility across the score too is just amazing. Definitely more versatile than the first too.
Yeah,
which really just has those 3 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know
Strange
he did
things are happening?
Yeah, he did the score for Marriage Story in 2019.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I mean, really fucking underrated score, I'd say.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it definitely brings the Toy Story vibes to a very different movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's contractually obliged to do all movies that have story in the title.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Then from there, they finally get into.
We're in the toy barn, and they're being escorted by tour guide Barbie around.
She's so cool.
And the Potato Head's like, I'm in a marriage. I'm in a marriage. I'm in a marriage. Like in some paranoid way, like he's dealing with infidelity. Like he has that sleazy instinct to he's cheated before. You know what I mean? Like you like it's his vice or something like that. It's like, oh, I've been around a Barbie before. I know how this goes.
Can't fall back into that. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Ham slides in. He's like, "Make your way for the single folks." And then she just kind of gives them a tour of each aisle. And I think, does Buzz get separated, or do they split up?
I think they kind of split up because they were like, "Oh yeah, maybe that's it." Because they took the car around and then stumbled upon all the Barbies, and then Buzz gets into the Buzz aisle where he's attacked by a fellow Buzz who is the same Buzz who we met in the original Toy Story in the beginning, who is totally delusional.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, thinks he's a space
and even more so because he has a bunch of Buzzes around him, so he feels like he leads this whole army of Buzz Lightyears. And I love this set piece moment a lot when Buzz is just surrounded by all the boxes of him. It's just really cool and memorable, and provides for just a great humor and irony of us and familiarity of us having dealt with delusional Buzz before, and the heightened version of what Buzz is.
It's the same establishing shot of Buzz as the first movie, where it just kind of pans up.
Exactly.
And it kind of clicks in your brain, like, oh man, we're gonna go through the same beats.
Yeah, it's him seeing himself. Yeah,
it's like Buzz on Buzz though, and that's where this movie just on every level is so smart, in how the characters sort of just kind of subvert the first movie.
Right.
That's just such a fun spin.
And later when the gang can't tell that this Buzz is different, it's because it really doesn't click for them, the different, they're like, oh, there's something wrong with Buzz is acting a little weird, remind me to close his helmet later or something like that.
Turn him off or something.
It's not like an obvious a complete character change, because their, so it plays on kind of their view of Buzz, you know, and what they've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, they think he's just kind of like reverting back to
like,
old ways.
Yeah, he does that sometimes. He's Buzz, you know.
Yeah.
But from our standpoint, when they follow Buzz up out to Al's apartment, when they follow the other Buzz up, like we're seeing it as like, wow, completely different guy. Like he's still leading the team, but from a complete like, you know, delusional standpoint, you know, like when he uses his gravity belt and it's the elevator, and then they're hurt because he dropped them onto the elevator, and he sees that they're like hurt and groan. He's like, don't worry, the anti-gravity formula will wear off shortly. You know?
That's where it starts to intersect with Rex's storyline too, because he's like, I know how to defeat Zurg. Like,
the whole time in Al's, he's reading that book. He's like, and he says, I forget what he says exactly. He's like, they make it that you have to get this book in order to defeat Zurg. It's like, I don't know. I forget what word he uses. It's not conspiracy, but he basically says like, it's a conspiracy or something like, or it's corrupt or something.
It's corrupt on the consumer or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Funnel more money into the Buzz Lightyear like corporation. Yeah. And I
something
think
that Disney would definitely do.
Yeah, it's like that's what I was gonna say. It's like exactly like Disney. Man, the balls on this movie sometimes.
So we need to get back to the apartment because a lot happens in Al's apartment while we're at Al's. And before the gang gets to Al's, because first Woody's about to leave, then he decides to make amends with Jesse, which is where we get the tear jerker sequence where that
greatest scene of all time.
Pixar has tried to do again and again, like an Up and multiple things, but it all, I think, at least for me, it all comes back to this scene, which is the, of course,
When She Loved Me.
The When She Loved Me montage, which shows Jesse's past with her owner, Emily. I mean, this is like, not only like is it impossible not to cry during this, but it's also just a masterpiece of storytelling, for sure. And probably the moment that if I had to pick a part of this movie that is like maybe not my favorite, but just definitely what sticks with me emotionally, if I'm getting real serious, if I'm taking this movie all real seriously, it's all about that moment.
I think when you think of Toy Story 2, like if you haven't seen it, say in like a few years, like probably all of us, it's like that scene is one of the first things you think about usually, just like the way it made you feel, the song, the imagery, the fact that you never see like Emily's face, you're just always on Jesse's face as it's slowly like getting more sour and sad. It's just like you said, it's masterful storytelling with
right.
no dialogue spoken, just music and editing. It's just holy shit.
Brief little montage with Sarah McLachlan music, and you totally get Jesse's character and what's driving her to be this desperate to
all the anger.
Woody. It's just all that little montage does it all.
And I'm just like picturing like we said at the end of the movie, Barbie is telling everyone, all right, goodbye now. I'm just picturing everyone sharing this like incredibly sad but beautiful montage together in a theater, like, and how just powerful that must have felt. I'm just getting into a lot of nostalgia for theaters because I feel like we don't go anymore as a society because of all this shit,
We live in a society.
Because we live in a society.
It definitely, just talking about this, it's just getting me like I can picture leaving the theater after this movie. It's very distinct.
And just picture everyone like, everyone's tearing up during this montage and having the same childhood feelings and
Oof.
So after that, after that, Woody decides to stay because the story is fucking depressing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, whoa, I don't want to be in a box for 40 years or whatever, however long Jesse was in there. It's probably not 40 years, but as we get to later, the prospector has really been confined for a while. So Woody really, yeah.
100 years, who knows?
Yeah, he's like what that one character who's institutionalized in the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, he's Morgan Freeman. Yeah, or not Morgan Freeman.
The other one, the librarian
guy.
Yeah,
Brooks.
That's
he's Brooks.
Brooks. Yeah. So Woody's finally like embracing this all, and then Buzz and the gang are. The other Buzz in the gang are coming up the elevator while the other Buzz kind of follows him. But before that, we kind of when Buzz does that cool exit out of Al's, he knocks over a Zurg box, and Zurg rises out of the box, and it is so much. He is so much like Darth Vader, and so like the movie is also so aware of how much like Darth Vader he is that I love it. I love Zurg in this movie. Yeah. And how he like, and how you look through his, I mean, it's a cool ass toy too. You get to look through his little eye hole, and it's got the scope.
The back of his head. That's so cool. Yeah.
So cool. And then you see Buzz running down the street. And he's like, oh, and it's like, destroy Buzz Lightyear over and over again. He just starts following him. It's just, I love that moment.
Yeah, and then leads to the great. So they're finally getting up the elevator shaft, and it's like a great movie moment, because there's so many movies where like people are going through, some vent or something, but here used expertly with like these toys.
There's that scene where like the other Buzz thinks that the walls are closing in, and he starts raising Potato Head against the
oh, that's so funny.
And then Rex's like, no, it's the elevator, guys. And then later is the big moment where they finally find where Woody is in the vents. And they're like tickling Woody, and Potato Head's like, they're torturing him.
Yeah, that's great too. You can't see what they're doing, so it looks like they're torturing them.
Yeah, and then it's the use your head line, which I remember seeing in the trailers as a kid. It was like I couldn't wait for that moment. As they just thrust him into the. Have like a running start into the vent.
Like, oh.
Yeah. I don't want to use my head.
They played that clip a lot, like an
ads
and everything.
Yeah.
And then like Woody and the Roundup gang, whatever, they finally have the moment where they're embracing each other, and then they're just infiltrated by
busted. Yeah. And they do this, and the way the gang does it is so like it's like so organized, like they just grab everyone.
Yeah, they're like a SWAT team or something.
Yeah, they're like, all right, get Woody and get out of here.
Yeah. And then you have like Bullseye and Slinky Dog going at it. And,
yeah.
It's like a gang fight. Yeah. And then Woody's like, no, they're my friends. And it's like, yeah, that's right, we're your friends. And
yeah. Rex like, that's right, we're his friends.
Yeah. And then I guess that's when they get into the just explaining what's going on, and then the real Buzz enters.
The real Buzz comes in, and once like it, he raises his foot up, like the other Buzz is kind of out of the picture. The whole he like knows his place. He's like, yeah, I'm not part of this. Like, I mean, who knows what's in his head?
And Buzz even does the thing with his helmet. Like he opens his helmet, call back to Toy Story 1 when Woody does that, and he thinks that he's like,
oh yeah,
he thinks that he's dying because he's
he like suffocates him, and then he puts his foot up and shows his the Andy on the bottom of his shoe. And then
how far he's come, because you see like the juxtaposition of those two guys, and like he does the same helmet thing, and Buzz, he gives like a similar look that Woody gave in the first movie, where it's just kind of like it's pity, and like he's like, this fucking guy right now. It's like
he's like rolling his eyes.
Yeah, great Buzz moment, really great Buzz moment.
And then he gives, and there's an even arguably a better Buzz moment after, when he just gives him the "you are a toy,"
that too. Man.
Yeah, and we kind of really realize why, that Woody's kind of in over his head about, and kind of I don't know, just making a mistake and giving up on Andy, and then like that's just followed up perfectly by like a 50s like puppet Woody singing "You've Got a Friend in Me," and it like reminds him of everything, and then he decides he's gonna go. But then we find out the prospector is a guy who gets out of his box in order to get what he wants, because he's insane and he's been in confinement for his entire life. So he's like waiting for his one moment to have something of value. And I think real quickly that part of his character is just explained. Like as a kid, I thought this prospector is insane, but like watching it yesterday, I definitely like I was like, oh, I understand why he's mad, and like why he wants what he wants, why he's evil.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is justified to an extent with the rest of the Roundup gang.
It is. It's done so well that Toy Story 3 like copies the exact same villain motivation in the third movie, pretty much. They just go deeper.
For sure.
But it's such like in Toy Story 2, it's like, again, it's done very subtly and just kind of just very character based, and it's not over the top and overly dark like Toy Story 3 tends to be. It just hits the perfect line.
Yeah.
Stinky Pete isn't overly evil. You sympathize with him to a point. And he's a piece of shit though in the end.
Yeah.
Glad what happens.
Then he locks up or tightens the screws on the vent.
Oh yeah.
Prevents him from joining them, and then the rest of the gang goes through to meet Zurg in the elevator shaft.
Yeah. And I don't even remember, like it's such an epic moment where Zurg and the Buzz Lightyear Buzz Lightyear fight, that I don't even know what the rest of the toys are doing, but they're just like kind of there in the middle of this like epic moment. And then they do an Empire Strikes Back moment, because I feel like they felt they had to, because of just, I don't know, like what they were making, like what Zurg is, like the location, that whole playing on the whole finality of a big fight and just everything, and Buzz giving up. I just felt like they had to write it in, and it could be such a corny, stupid thing that like people would roll their eyes at, but I think it's just, I don't know, just the fact that it's a quick like spoof of really Empire. I think it's hilarious. It's just hilarious. I think it works so well, because it doesn't matter. It's not like improvisation bullshit like in comedy nowadays where it takes forever. It's just like one quick like, I'm your father, and then no, as they continue to go down the elevator. It's just hilarious.
And then he like decides to stay with Zurg.
Yeah.
I want to play catch with my dad.
You're such a good dad.
Oh yeah, that is such a great moment. Yeah.
Good one, son.
Yeah, it's so strange. I don't know. Yeah.
It's bizarre, but it's like actually really sweet at the same time.
Yeah,
it
is.
You're just like, that's just great.
And then like when I saw that yesterday, I was like, all right, that's where we leave off with that Buzz. That's what he does now.
Yeah. That fitting way to like, to sort of get rid of his character from the story.
Yeah.
That's really smart. Like you said, like they're so good at these spoofs. So much better than Hobbs and Shaw.
And then we get another moment with Pizza Planet. that Pizza Planet truck. And like we said, with the cones and I don't know, just what the working as a team thing and what that how that works from a toy's point of view and how they all have to work together just to drive this car makes just like trying to follow Al to the airport just such a like crazy chase scene because from inside the car we just see how intricate it is for all these toys to operate a car.
It's like every variable of a car chase, like usually it's just like the human and the car and like then whatever they're chasing, and this is like the gas pedal, the steering wheel, the window, like every single part of the car is like integral to the car chase.
Yep.
It's like that's why it's so visceral and so intense, and also it's hilarious too.
Yeah.
Like the aliens are there, like the aliens from the first movie and the claw machine are back. You're like, it's just good old fashioned Toy Story magic, really, and that whole the whole final act. It's just nonstop.
Yep. And then we get to the airport. They get into the luggage, big luggage room where luggages go. The luggage, I don't know, facility, whatever, that's distributing the luggage to all the different planes with a bunch of ramps going in different directions. And all they really know is that it's a green bag. And so they see two, and the two groups go to find one.
Split off,
so it becomes this cool chase scene in this luggage room, which this set kind of reminds me of this set piece kind of reminds me of like The Doors and Monsters Inc. or something. I was just gonna say that, too. Just a bunch of doors. Yeah, it's just I don't know, like even though that was like the door room is like a fake thing in Monsters Inc. and more imaginative. Like the way that this is that a room like this, which is a real thing, I'm sure, in airports, the way it's framed from a toy's perspective turns it into this, like this disorienting, insane place that you couldn't believe is actually real, but it just is.
Huge.
Yeah.
The Monsters Inc. You reminded me how that's like it really took inspiration from Toy Story 2 and kind of ups it, and it's just like that sequence I remember is like really long. Remember when they're kind of going after her?
Oh yeah,
that's a great scene, and
you got to like puzzle it together as it goes. Yeah, that's a really good scene.
So then the toys, they defined what they reach one bag and it's like camera equipment. And Ham's like, nice flash, though.
Yeah.
And Buzz reaches the bag, and then there's a big fight scene with the prospector, and Woody's like, "Don't do that to my friend."
Yeah, they're throwing like punches and stuff.
Yeah, and the prospector's like gonna willing to tear him apart with like his pickaxe. Like he almost cuts his arm off again, and is about to like basically kill him, and then the gang saves Woody with the flash that they find in the bags. And then they send the prospector off to a new owner who's a artist.
She's
an artist.
Yeah, great like creepy moment when the Barbie doll.
It is. It is creepy. It's for sure creepy. And the prospector's like, "Oh no," or something like that.
Yeah, Jessie then she's still stuck.
Jessie, they're too late on getting Jessie out of the bag. So she flies down into a pile of bags, which are being put into one of those, I don't know, just bag pickup truck things with those platforms over on top of it. The ones that were like, this is also another thing where, whatever it is, this is another thing that's a sucker for like me as a kid, because when you're a kid, I loved every single vehicle that is at an airport, especially the ones that carry the bags, like the big bag trolleys. I thought they were so cool, and that's what they end up chasing in this movie to go after Jessie. Like they on Bullseye, like Woody and Buzz ride Bullseye after Jessie. And like last time they were chasing a movie van, now they're chasing a plane.
Yeah. The stakes have been raised. Yeah.
Yes.
I also
it's pretty nuts.
I didn't notice this until this viewing of it, but it's very much like an homage to a Western where instead of being like a train, that Woody is like, like Indiana Jones Last Crusade, like they're running across the top of the train cars. Like this is the toys version of that is Woody's running across the top of the train to try and get to Jesse, jumping from it's very Red Dead, like jumping from Bullseye onto the train.
Yeah.
This is where Woody gets his like wish fulfillment as the hero of his own story.
He's living out an episode, basically.
The music kind of kicks in. He has to sort of catch a damsel in distress, and then that's where the whole movie kind of rears its head. Is like he will have adventures that are as exciting, if not more exciting than being loved. Because he always gets up to it.
He's living out an episode. As he does, he yells, "Ride like the wind, Bullseye," as if he's with the confidence that he's an actual cowboy in the episode. And I love how he's, as he says that, and he's getting closer to the plane, like Buzz goes like, "Move it, Bullseye!" Yeah, just like how out of just how out of place Buzz is in saying that, but like how confident Tim Allen sounds. It's just I don't know. It was, for some reason, just him saying that really just makes me laugh a lot. It's made me laugh for years.
This is quite the adventure that they've gone on. That they're literally at an airport. Like there's been plenty of it's almost like Tenet. Like Tenet takes place at the airport.
Yeah,
huge action
imagine
sequence.
if they crash the plane and Woody has to go in reverse back to Jesse. And so they end up Woody and Jesse end up kind of walking onto the wheel, which is still like such a crazy thing to do. And they end up swinging back as the plane's about to take off, like whipping back, hoping that they land on Bullseye and Buzz on the horse. Because Buzz, like, you kind of forget Woody gets on the plane, I think, and then you kind of forget that Buzz is, still following. Loyal Buzz, good old Buzz is following the plane the whole way, as he catches Woody's hat, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like straight out of like Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. Yeah. A lot of the action in this movie, I feel like, is Spielberg inspired. Like these really awe-inspiring, just well-staged action sequences. Like feel like a lot like Indiana Jones. Or
definitely this plane thing feels Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then they land back on the horse, and it's finally we get to breathe. Like it kind of gives you that vibe, like you can breathe. Then the plane almost like lands back on them. They get spooked again, and they're like, all right. And then it's a perfect "let's go home" from Woody. Like enough adventure.
It's nice. After all that build up, and they have the nice just like comic relief after that.
Yeah.
And then they wrap it up back at Andy's house.
Yeah, Andy's learned, I guess, how to sew at cowboy camp. He fixed Woody. This always went over my head as a kid. I was always really confused. I was like, what do you mean Andy fixed Woody? Like Andy can't fix Woody, but
Al had to bring in a professional
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And also we find out Wheezy's
Wheezy ends it with like a little concert of the whole group together, and it's really awesome. And
it's like a Frank Sinatra thing. He's kind of a bow tie. It's like really classy. Yeah,
he's got ladies behind him,
Fucking great.
Yeah, and then we get to those outtakes. We get to those amazing outtakes, which shoot it. They shoot it. It's like they're filming an actual movie. Like they're like, all right, action. Like now we're shooting the Buzz walking into the aisle, the Buzz aisle scene. And like they just can't stop laughing during the take for some reason. They make it Woody like the goofball of the set.
He's like pranking Buzz all the time.
Ha ha ha!
Hey, what's so funny?
What's everyone laughing at? Yeah. He takes the binoculars off, and he's got the those are genuinely just like, obviously they're not real bloopers, but still super funny.
Yeah, they had to make and animate bloopers. It probably took forever, but it was so worth it because it's just great laughs to cap off such a great movie too.
A great touch. Yeah, and I miss the time when movies used to have bloopers in the credits.
Yeah,
the great
especially if it's
experience.
If it's a perfect movie, it's a great way to end it. You get little goofy bloopers that are, especially in this case, like the fact that they're not real just adds, it's almost just like getting more movie,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Toy Story 2.
That's Toy Story 2.
It seems like we all love it a lot, and I'm happy we got to talk about it. Yeah, it's definitely. I'm going to search deep and really think about where I'm going to put this on my all-time movie canon list, because it's definitely up there, like with how I was, like just the way I was vibing with it last night and how much I laughed and how emotional I got. Like, I'm not going to act like it was a regular movie experience.